2024 is here and a ton of brand new games are on the horizon. Whether you plan on playing them as they drop or just adding them to your backlog, here are some of the games I and my producer Austin can't wait to play. Presented by the United States Air Force, where great starts happen from launching a career and making lifelong friendships to becoming a better you. Obsidian Entertainment made huge waves when they dropped Fallout New Vegas, a game IGN named the 28th best RPG of all time. Obsidian has since gone on to make several other games, like Pillars of Eternity, The Outer Worlds, and Pentiment. Will Avowed live up to the legacy that the developer has upheld since? In Avowed, you're sent to the Living Lands to stop a disastrous plague consuming Eora. To combat the affliction, you'll pick from a variety of abilities, weapons, spells, and choose which path you want to forge for yourself. Obsidian has already confirmed that Avowed would continue their tradition of allowing players to make meaningful choices through dialogue and action. And personally, I'm most excited to explore the nuance of those choices, where there is no clear right choice, from siding with factions and potentially locking yourself out of quests entirely, or unlocking new ones. Obsidian always does a good job of making you feel the player agency, and we're looking forward to carving out our own legacy when Avowed drops on Xbox Series consoles and Windows PC sometime in 2024. There's nothing quite like the crayfish fighting, karaoke singing, dragon kart racing, and of course, character-driven storytelling of the Yakuza series. In an industry that's sorely lacking in AAA comedy-forward games with a strong narrative focus, it's been a breath of fresh air that Ryuga Gotoku has leaned into the absurdity even further with Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. We can't wait for Ichiban Kasuga to team up with the original series protagonist, Kazuma Kiryu. Ryuga Gotoku has gone on record to say Infinite Wealth features over 100 hours of content. So much so that they said that if you play the game from beginning to end nonstop that you will get sick, so please don't try. Their words, not mine. From the Crazy Taxi-inspired Crazy Delivery where you deliver food while performing 6 stunts for money, to the Pokemon-inspired Sujimon battles where you collect enemies to level up and duke it out, there's a ton of fun, engaging side content for everybody. And as a big JRPG guy, I'm a huge fan of the way the series has evolved its combat to be turn-based. Infinite Wealth continues to develop and improve on that combat system with new jobs and mechanics like, of course, Kiryu's tongue-in-cheek ability to break out of the turn-based combat and revert the game to its brawler roots temporarily. So cool. There's a whole lot more I could go on about, but this list must continue. Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth drops January 26 on PlayStation 4 and 5, Windows PC, Xbox One, and Series consoles. Grapple and glide your way through 19th century Japan with Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin, an open-world RPG set during the late Edo period. This samurai game is a blend of Team Ninja's previous games, like Nioh and Ninja Gaiden, with some inspiration from newer games like Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice and Ghost of Tsushima. Not so much has been revealed about the game so far, but from what we've seen, Team Ninja is in the process of creating their most ambitious game yet. Team Ninja has already established themselves as serious contenders in the action RPG genre, but so far, all of their games have been, kind of stage-based with brutal combat. But Rise of the Ronin looks to up the ante by changing the scope the developer's working in by delivering a massive world for us to explore and fight through. Will this experiment in the open world genre pay off the way Elden Ring did for From Software? We can't wait to find out. Alright, let's be real. Not enough people are talking about the Plucky Squire. This charming gem from ex-Nintendo developer James Turner transports players into a top-down, Zelda-inspired adventure with a little twist. The Plucky Squire is set inside a storybook and takes the pop-in and out-of-walls features seen in Mario Odyssey and Link Between Worlds to the next level. Instantly transition from a 2D top-down adventure to a completely fleshed-out 3D world with the tap of a button to solve puzzles, navigate progression blocks, and explore new environments. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We can't wait to see what else developer All Possible Futures has in store. But will this all just be a neat gimmick, or is there real substance tied to the mechanic? We're excited to find out when the Plucky Squire pops into the real world sometime in 2024 on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC.
俺たちはこの世に存在するべきではない。愚かだな。
Alright, I gotta be upfront with you guys. I'm not a huge fighting game fan, but my producer Austin is, and he's stoked that the King of Iron Fist tournament is back. And if you've ever heard of EVO or any major fighting game tournament, you already know that Tekken is one of the most hyped games of all time. And not only that, it's also one of the most fun fighting games to pick up and play either by yourself or with a group of friends. Even if you're a button-mashing beginner like myself who has no idea what they're doing, Tekken 8's striking visuals, cinematic combo finishers, and incredible soundtrack leave us wanting to get KO'd over and over again. I'd like a win every now and then though. Coming in hot is the new Heat system, a mechanic that incentivizes aggressive play. Along with that, the story mode looks top-notch with cinematic cutscenes that push the storyline to the next level, along with the staggering cast of 32 playable characters at launch. And yes, Tekken 8 launches on January 26 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and Windows PC with rollback netcode and crossplay. You must still be stuck on Bowser's Big Bean Burrito if you haven't heard of Donkey's new publishing company, Big Mode. Big Mode has partnered with Soul developer Billy Basso to unveil their debut game, Animal Well. What stands out is Animal Well's unique visual styles that seemingly combines lo-fi CRT aesthetics with pixelated sprite work drenched in vivid lighting. There's a tantalizing and somewhat disturbing hit to the senses when you take in Animal Well's cohesive, atmospheric presentation. Consider us intrigued. We can't wait to find out if Animal Well comes close to Knack's legacy when it releases for PlayStation 5 and Windows PC early 2024. Given Capcom's recent track record, it's hard to not be excited about any game they're putting out. They've had a sort of renaissance as of late, and 2024 doesn't look to buck that trend with the release of Dragon's Dogma 2. I, for one, am thankful this is even getting a sequel in the first place. This follow-up looks like more of the same in the best way possible, but better? That said, Dragon's Dogma 2 features some notable upgrades, the most apparent of which is the game's adoption of the RE engine. But personally, I'm most excited to see all the over-the-top cataclysmic spell animations, environmental hazards like blowing up a dam to send a surge of water at an unfortunate Cyclops, and of course, see all the new enemies I can climb and defeat, like that cool Talos. But above all, I hope Dragon's Dogma 2 captures that whimsical sense of adventure and danger from the original game every time you leave the town gates. And since Dragon's Dogma 2 takes place in an alternate world, you can just jump right in when the game drops on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC on March 22nd. Alright, I'm not trying to make anybody feel old here, but it's hard to believe that Persona 5 turns 8 years old this year since its initial release in Japan. And now, Katsura Hashino and some of the other members of P Studio have come together to create Metaphor ReFantazio. Or is it Fantazio? I think I'll just stick with Fantasio. The Shin Megami Tensei and Persona influence is immediately apparent with character designs from Persona designer Shigenori Sojima and the best UI designers in the business, handling gorgeously rendered menu systems, combat interfaces, and creative transitions. But what stands out to me is how Metaphor ReFantazio allows you to determine how you'd like to approach combat. You can opt for traditional turn-based combat to get nitty-gritty with buffs, debuffs, and specialty attacks, or you can engage with an enemy in real-time combat where you can evade enemy attacks. I don't think I've ever seen that before, and it rules. For all the Persona fans out there, the calendar system is back, and this time you're using it to gain favor and popularity through the world as time passes to become the king of the kingdom of Euronia. Also back is the legendary composer Shoji Meguro, so you already know that this game is going to have a killer soundtrack that you'll be listening to for years to come. Will this RPG live up to the standards set by the SMT and Persona series? We'll find out when Metaphor ReFantazio comes out in fall 2024 for PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series consoles, and Windows PC. Back in 2020, IGN gave the original Hades Game of the Year. Thanks to the impressive writing and high-octane gameplay, Supergiant Games set a high bar for themselves. And now, 4 years later, Hades 2 is headed to early access. And even though we know it won't be a full release, we couldn't be more excited to die and die again in the endlessly replayable godlike series. And while we don't have too many details about what separates Hades 2 from the original, we can't wait to return to the underworld and potentially go somewhere else. But genuinely, what has us excited is the prospect of improving on something that's already outstanding to begin with.
Alright, let's give it another shot.
Are they going to shake up the formula established in the first game, or will they play it safe and continue the story set in motion by Zagreus, the original game's protagonist? Either way, we're itching to return to the underworld when Hades 2 hits early access in Q2 of this year. Alright, look, if you know me, you know that I could go on and on about the importance of the original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation and how it shaped the face of modern gaming. But I'm gonna be honest with myself, you didn't click on this video for a history lesson. So with that, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the next installment of events set in motion at the end of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Apart from being the game I'm most personally excited about from the whole fanboy perspective, what has me intrigued is the evolution of the active time battle system introduced in Remake and iterated on in the Intermission DLC. Rebirth adds a level of complexity to the already delicious combat system by doubling down on synergized attacks, effectively combining the abilities of multiple party members to devastating effect. And look, anytime you do dual attacks or triple attacks, you got me on board because it reminds me of Chrono Trigger. And then there's the story stuff. I'm not going to get into spoilers here, but let's just say that the end of Remake left us all dying to know what happens next. I can't wait to return to Junon, Cosmo Canyon, Gold Saucer, and more. And of course, be reunited with new party members like Kachi, yes, I'm calling him Kachi and not Kate Sith, Vincent Valentine, and Cid. I'm also curious to see how the fairly linear traversal of Remake shifts to the open world of Gaia in Rebirth. I would assume Cloud and Party is going to be a lot more flexible and jumpy. Just how open world will Rebirth be? Where are they going to draw the boundaries? Where can I go? Where can I not go? Could this game possibly live up to the hype? Will we be clamoring for whatever Part 3 ends up being named? Hopefully, we'll have the answer to all of these questions when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hits PlayStation 5 on February 29th. Look, this list could easily feature a whole slew of different notable games, but this is just what I and my producer, Austin, are excited about. Disagree with our list? Make your own by heading to playlist.ign.com. And for everything else coming out in 2024, stay tuned to IGN.